This is a Forex Preview here at XM.com. Thanks for joining us. I'm Christina Marujos. With me today is Cristina Barcenido, investment analyst, and we'll be having a look at UK data coming up on Friday. Earlier this week, Cristina, we had the complete reopening of the UK economy amid a surge of cases due to the Delta variant. But Friday holds important data. We have retail sales numbers for June coming up, followed by July's PMI figures a few hours later. What are we likely to see in the numbers?
Hi, Christina. Yes, retail sales for June and July's flash market PMI figures will be out of the UK this Friday. Of course, the effects from this week's full reopening will not show up in the data, but still consumers and businesses had access to several activities before the final reopening. So it will be interesting to see how the economy performed in the past month. Probably the data will remain positive. Retail sales are expected to show a positive growth on a monthly basis, and the yearly expansion is also expected to remain comfortably above pre-pandemic levels despite expectations of a significant slowdown to 9.6% from the double-digit expansion of 24.6% in the previous month. The flash PMI figures may face some weakness as well, but this may not create any serious concerns if the figures remain well above the 50 mark, which separates expansion from contraction, as forecasts suggest. And more importantly, if the slowdown in the services sector, which drives the UK economy, appears to be too small to raise worries. So overall, the data may keep reflecting a growing economy, but on the other hand, I wouldn't fully ignore the softness in the data if it indeed shows up in the data on Friday. Of course, the base effects caused by the pandemic low levels may drop out of the equation as the time goes by, so it may take a while until we see again the extreme growth in economic indicators. But on the other hand, that could also be a signal that economic growth has likely reached a peak at a time when new COVID variants challenge the global economy. The unemployment rate is still high in several economies, and inflation measures hold way above targets. In other words, that is not a very encouraging combination of facts for the UK economy. And even if the weakness in the data could be a sign of normalization, I think we should be more cautious about the weakness in the coming months.
Now let's have a look at the Bank of England. It hinted at its last meeting that it might tighten monetary policy. Do you think the data out on Friday could potentially strengthen the possibility of the central bank doing so? And how would that affect the pound?
Well, the next policy meeting for the Bank of England is in 2 weeks from now, and probably data releases will be closely watched by the bank and investors, of course. As you have mentioned, the Bank of England has previously sent some signals that it may cut stimulus, probably reducing the amount of bond purchases in the first stage of monetary tightening. But this is not very clear yet. We have heard different opinions on that recently. 5 days ago, Sanders, who is a board member in the bank, said that government bond purchases may need to stop early due to the unexpectedly sharp rise in inflation measures. A few days later, Haskett said that reducing stimulus is not the right option for the foreseeable future despite rising inflation. So overall, we see some confusion within the bank, and that is reasonable given the uncertainty about whether the rise in inflation is temporary from the one hand and the high unemployment and the pandemic uncertainty on the other. Now, how the data could affect the bank's sentiment, I think that the data may not be weak enough to push the tapering scenario out of the table unless we see big negative surprises, which may not be the case this time. Perhaps the situation in hospitals, that may move the needle. For example, if the death rate starts to rise and infections get out of the roof, then probably the government may resume some restrictions, and that could be negative for any tightening plans. But for now, I think that the data may not be enough to change opinions within the bank, although some deviations from forecast may move the pound. But overall, I don't think that the impact will last for long. Probably the next policy meeting could be a biggest threat for the pound if policymakers decide to delay tapering plans and turn more dovish on rate hikes because of the pandemic situation.
Cristina, thank you for joining me today. And thank you for watching this Forex Preview on UK data here at XM.com.